Hey
Hey
guys,
guys,
I'm Jess,
I'm Kira.
and I'm Tiffany,
and welcome to the Rift podcast.
where we discuss relevant issues for teens.
Relevant issues for teens. Get it? It's the acronym RIFT.
Today's Rift is COVID.
I guess to start off, we are three high school students who live in America, and we've been going through COVID for over a year now, right? And I guess today we're just going to talk about how it affected us, what we gained from it, and how we changed through this year. So I guess just to start off, what is something that changed about you during COVID?
Definitely for me, I've became much more focused on schoolwork because schoolwork is basically at the touch of your fingertips, and I feel like it's always right in front of me as I'm working from home. And in a way, I feel like I have a lot less free time and I'm just always working in a way. It might have been partially because I'm a freshman in high school, so this is my first year in high school. So obviously, work matters a lot more, and there is a lot more work this year. But I think COVID definitely plays a role, considering that work is online and you can basically do your work from anywhere and check your grades at any moment.
Yeah, I think for me, COVID just provided the much needed almost distance and time off. Like it let everything slow down in my life. I mean, I've had the ups and downs during COVID. I've experienced not even moving at all, just staying as a potato on the couch, but also having the time to exercise. And most recently, I've been getting into baking because I have the time. I'm at home. So definitely, it's been good, it's been bad, but I think it's like an experience we won't forget.
Definitely.
Talk about, being at home almost all the time. And I'm a fully remote student, so I stay home entirely for school if I need to go to classes. Like Kira said, I also have a lot of time just staying at home and being on the computer, going to class. And in terms of I'm able to be more comfortable when I study, and not having to worry about getting to class on time because I need to rush to the classroom, or taking the bus home and just worrying about are you guys remote or hybrid?
I'm a hybrid student and I really like being hybrid actually because I kind of get the best of both worlds. It's really fun for me in a way to experience what it's like to go to school and to learn from home. And I feel like it's also sometimes a little difficult because there's just so much change on a day-to-day basis. For example, on days that I go into school, I wake up a little earlier because I need to catch the bus and get ready. But when I'm at home, I can sleep for that extra 10 to 15 minutes. And I think just both in school and outside of school, or excuse me, when I'm learning at home, um, I've been a little bit less productive because there are so many distractions since a lot of our work has been transitioned to on computers.
Tiffany, I'm the same as you, so I've always been fully remote during the school year. I think it has its pros and cons, and this is something I think it just depends on what type of person you are. So, I mean, I'm kind of like that. It's just, like I said, COVID kind of just slowed things down for everyone, so it was that nice time off. I agree with Jess, though. There has been a lot of distractions, but at the same time, there's just time between classes. But overall, being fully remote has worked pretty well for me. My grades have been, maintained. I've been able to study, and I think it definitely took a while. Before, at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, it was really hard for me to focus and study, but now I think I've grown accustomed to it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Kira. Just getting those few minutes in between classes just to wind down and finally take some time off the screen is really relieving in a way. And I think to transition into although COVID has, brought its benefits, I think it also increased a lot of stress for me, um, especially just being on the computer for 9+ hours just during class. I'm not even counting like the amount of schoolwork because schoolwork is basically all online now. So that adds into more hours on the computer. So that's not only brought a lot of eye strains for me, but I think just the workload has caused like a symbolic in a way it's like a rock that's on my back in a way. What do you guys think about that?
Definitely for me, I have as well felt a lot more stress, but for a little bit of a different reason. For me, I don't have any social media and I'm not very acclimated to texting people or messaging people on Discord. So I felt a lot of stress and anxiety about my social life, considering that most of my friends are on social media or they text message and use Discord now for obvious reasons. And personally, for me, a bad habit that I've gotten into to try to remain productive, it would be putting all of my devices on do not disturb just so that I can study without distractions. And in that time, I often miss a lot of conversations between my friends. And I think it's really difficult in this time to kind of find the balance between social interaction and schoolwork, considering that it's basically happening in the same place.
Yeah, I think for that, this works just outside of the COVID-19 pandemic. Having a time for school and having a time for socialization and time with friends. I think nowadays it's very easy to merge those two together when people are texting during class. Some people might say that's a pro during class if it's a boring class and people are fooling around during that time, but it can be a con because it just adds to the distractions we already have at home. But being okay with having your phone set off to do not disturb and having that all those other tabs closed and just focusing on the task at hand, getting things done one by one, I think is very important, especially during this time.
Absolutely. I think we've talked a lot about like what we do at home and schoolwork and all that. But when you go outside, what is the experience like? I think for me, especially if I need to go out with my mom to go buy groceries or something, I have to wear the mask, right? And it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. For me, it's like if I wear my mask for too long, it starts to like get really wet, and it sounds really disgusting, and it feels disgusting. But that's just a really huge hassle for me. How do you feel about masks?
For me, wearing a mask is definitely a little difficult for multiple reasons. I know that I fidget a lot, so I definitely want to touch my mask and play with it sometimes, and I have to restrain myself. But also, it's a little painful for me because the ear holes on my mask often pull on the back of my ears, and that definitely hurts a lot. But I just have to remind myself that it's a necessary precaution that I have to take during the pandemic, and hopefully soon there'll come a time where we don't have to wear masks anymore.
Mask wearing, it hasn't been too bad for me. I think it is just a habit that takes a little getting used to. And I definitely feel those mask struggles. Those are real. Uh, glasses wearers will see the fog that wearing masks will cause. And yeah, like you mentioned, the ears pulling after a long time of wearing masks. But it definitely is an inconvenience, but it isn't too bad considering that if it has any chance of slowing down the coronavirus, that's a trade-off I would easily take.
Definitely.
Yeah, you make a really good point, and I really like how we're able enough to be able to share our voices and opinions about COVID, because I feel like the impact on especially us being teenagers and high schoolers, I feel like that hasn't been really been noticed in society. And that kind of ties back to why we really started this podcast, is because we wanted to share our opinions as teenagers, because we feel like our opinions can matter just as much as anyone else's, um, especially during this time.
Yeah, I mean, I often see podcasts, news shows, blogs, vlogs that are all done by adults and cater to adults. But I think that what really inspired us to create Rift is that we're different in that we're a podcast by teens and for teens. And like Tiffany was getting into, I think it's really important to have a teen perspective on current events and relevant issues because I feel like that's a bit lacking in today's society, and our opinions really do matter. And I think it's really important to make sure our voices are heard.
Right, more and more so, we're seeing that teenagers, this generation, has something to say about any issue there is out there. And this is just one platform to do so.
Yeah. And just to transition the topic into COVID again, recently there have been new vaccines that came out, which is really fortunate for a lot of us. I know my mom already received 2 doses of one of the vaccines for COVID, and my dad is also going to get one soon. So I'm really grateful that we have the vaccines. How about you guys?
I'm also extremely grateful that some incredibly intelligent people were able to make vaccines for COVID in record time. And for me, my grandparents were vaccinated, and I think that's great. I definitely feel a lot more comfortable about them because I know that they're safe. And a lot of the vaccines as well have been proven in studies very effective. But I can't help but feel a slight bit of uncertainty considering that most vaccines are tested in 3 to 5 years, and this vaccine was only tested in less than one. But I think we need to really have faith in science and have faith in the government and the people making these vaccines and really just get vaccinated so that we can move out of this pandemic and hopefully transition back into normalcy.
Yeah, it is amazing how the vaccines were developed in such a short amount of time and been proven to have this high efficacy rate. At the same time, this is also the reason for the concern of many, many Americans who are hesitant to actually take the vaccine. But I think, trust the leading scientists in this country. I would take it. So far, millions of Americans have already taken it, and I think the vaccine is just the way to go. That's the solution.
Yeah, I think people are also scared off a little bit, especially for the mRNA vaccines. The second dose supposedly causes a lot of side effects and illness, and I think that definitely deters a lot of people because they think that means the vaccine is dangerous or ineffective, or they don't want to go through a day of suffering. But I think we just need to keep in mind that it's one day of suffering for a lifetime of immunity to COVID.
To go back on what you guys said about how fast these vaccines developed, I think it goes to show how much technology has evolved and how much it's going to affect our lives. Going back to schoolwork being entirely online now, and most work companies, they're just incorporating more and more technology into how they work and function. And I think it shows that technology has made our lives really convenient in terms of, meeting with people, getting work done. What do you guys feel about that?
We're all well versed in Zoom now. So definitely in the future, I think even after schools have fully reopened and people are comfortable getting to meet physically in person, I think Zoom will definitely exist on those rainy days or just for meetings that people are able to meet remotely. So I think it's COVID as a whole is going to have long-term impacts after the majority of people have received their
Yeah,
vaccine.
for sure. Some people were even telling me that post-COVID, they're going to keep wearing masks just to prevent, the flu and the common cold. And I think that's something that's becoming more and more normalized in our society. And I as well kind of hope that people will still meet on Zoom and these platforms will still be used and will still exist. Because personally, for me, Zoom has opened up a lot of opportunities because I know in my debate career, I've been able to debate people cross country from Texas, from California, from Nebraska at these virtual debate tournaments that the organizers have opened up even worldwide. I know Kira was telling me that she might have debated people from Vancouver, which is pretty amazing. And I think these
Yeah.
experiences are really unique to COVID and unique to platforms like Zoom. And I hope we can still have them in the future, even after the pandemic is over.
Yeah, I think technology has definitely helped us a lot and broadened our connections literally through countries. I think we've all shared a lot of what we think about COVID and how it has impacted us. Do you guys have any closing thoughts left?
I mean, I guess just to conclude, I want to put out there that we're almost there. We can literally see the finish line. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we just need to stay positive, stay motivated, and keep going on with our daily lives. And the end of COVID will be soon.
Right, there's hope. Just keeping those safety precautions, and before we know it, we'll be able to all get together and meet up with friends.
Yep. And I think that concludes our episode today about COVID. Thank you for listening to our episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye,
Yep,
guys.
see you next time.